قد أفلح المؤمنون.
So moving on to number 9. Number 9 is Abdullah ibn Umayr. Abdullah ibn Umayr is a very, very interesting case. And I will explain this to you. So this story is narrated by a man named Abu Janab al-Kalbi. Abu Janab al-Kalbi is a famous historical reporter and hadith transmitter. His name is Yahya ibn Hay. He's considered da'if when it comes to his hadith transmissions. But of course, this is not a hadith. This is a historical report. So in his collection of reports regarding the martyrdom of al-Husayn, he narrates from Abu Janab al-Kalbi, who says the following. One of our men named Abdallah ibn Umayr of the Banu Ulaym had settled in al-Kufa. And he says, and he had taken a house beside the well of the clan of al-Ja'd ibn Hamdan. With him was his wife, who was from the clan of al-Namir ibn Qasit, called Wahab bint Abd. He saw the people at al-Nukhayla being drawn up to be sent against al-Husayn. And this is referring to the fact that after Ibn Ziyad la'inahullah had taken control of Kufa, had solidified his control over the city after crushing the uprising of Muslim ibn Aqil, he immediately began mobilizing the men of Kufa to march out against al-Husayn. So Abdullah ibn Umayr and his wife Wahab, they are living in Kufa, and Abdullah ibn Umayr sees these men are being assembled against al-Husayn and being assembled to march against al-Husayn. So he asked about them, and he was told they are being sent against al-Husayn, the son of Fatima, the daughter of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abdullah ibn Umayr said, by Allah, I was anxious to make jihad against the polytheists. I hope that by making holy war against these people, those who are attacking the son of the daughter of their prophet, there will be no less reward from Allah than his reward would be for me making holy war against the polytheists. So he said he went to his wife Wahab and he told her about what he had heard, and he informed her of what he was intending to do. And she said, you are right. May Allah make you achieve the most wise of your affairs. Do it, but take me with you. So he went with her by night until he came to al-Husayn, and he stayed with him. And this is reported in al-Tabari in volume 19, the English version of his book, of course, page 129. So I want to stop here and I want to analyze this for a second. So this man is basically saying, I was really looking forward to going and fighting the kuffar, going and fighting the polytheists, but now what an opportunity. I get the chance to defend the grandson of Rasulullah, and I hope that Allah will reward me more so for defending Imam al-Husayn salamullah than for fighting the kuffar. And as we know from our discussions regarding the battles of Amir al-Mu'mineen, fighting against the Bughat is more important than fighting against the outside threats to Islam. Correct? And so this is an example of a man from Bani Kalb who heeded the call. He heeded the call of Imam al-Husayn salamullah. And not only that, his wife not only encouraged him, but she said, take me with you. I wish to go with you. Take me with you. I want to bear witness to this. I want to help in any way that I can. And so Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi is really interesting. The reason why I said he's a bit of a strange case is because it is commonly narrated among the scholars of the Manabir and the people who recite Majalis that al-Husayn had a Christian companion from Bani Kalb, and that Wahab was his mother. And so I'm not sure if this is a case of me missing something, perhaps that such a person does exist and I haven't been able to find them, or that this was an example of a story that got sort of mutated over time, or it got messed up. Because what we can see is that Wahab and her husband were Muslims. They were Muslims. They were both from Abdullah ibn Wahab, or I'm sorry, not Abdullah ibn Wahab, Abdullah ibn Umayr rather. He was a man from Bani Kalb. But Wahab was his wife. She was not his mother. And that they had gone together to join Imam al-Husayn. In any case, Abu Janab al-Kalbi further reports, he says, when Umar ibn Sa'ad came towards al-Husayn and shot an arrow, this is something very infamous and very despicable that Umar ibn Sa'ad did. And I believe this is recorded by al-Bukhari in one of his books. He says that Umar ibn Sa'ad came forth and he fired an arrow towards al-Husayn's camp, and he said, let people bear witness to the Emir that I am the one who started this war. So the people began to shoot at one another. And so while they were shooting at each other, Yassar, a Mawla, a freedman of Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan, or rather Ziyad ibn Abi, and Salim, a Mawla of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, these two thugs came forward, these two brutes. One was the goon of Ziyad ibn Abi, the other one was the goon of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. And so they called out, which one of you will come forward to fight against us? We're demanding an opponent in a duel. And so Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi and Burayr ibn Hudayr jumped up. But al-Husayn alayhi salam said to them, sit down. Then Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi arose. And he said, Ya Aba Abdullah, may Allah have mercy on you. Permit me to go out against them. Al-Husayn salamullah alayhi saw a tall, dark man, strong in arm with broad shoulders. He said, I think he will be deadly enough for those opponents. Go forward if you wish. So he went forward to meet them. They asked him who he was, and Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi gave them his lineage. They answered, we do not know you. Let Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, Habib ibn Mudahir, or Burayr ibn Hudayr come out against us. Yassar got ready in front of Salim, and Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi retorted, son of an adulteress, you wanted to do single combat with one of the people. So one of the people has come forward against you. In any case, he is better than you. So he's essentially mocking them. And this is strangely reminiscent of what happened at Badr between the Muslims and the Quraysh, where Abu Jahl, demands from the Ansar, it's like, who are you people? And they give him their lineages, their names, say, no, we don't want you. We want the likes of Hamza, we want our equals from Quraysh. And ironically enough, this same man that he mocked ends up being one of the people that killed Abu Jahl, la'inahullah. In any case, so Abdullah ibn Umayr was mocking them and he was challenging them. He says, you wanted an opponent, you've got one. So with that, Abdullah ibn Umayr struck Yassar with his sword until he had silenced him. And while he was occupied with striking against him with his sword, Salim attacked. They cried out in warning, the other servant is closing in on you. Abdullah ibn Umayr did not notice Salim until the latter was upon him. With his left hand, he warded off Salim's blow, but the fingers of his hand were cut off. Then he turned on Salim, struck him, and killed him. After he killed them both, he came forward and recited his war poem, If you do not know me, I am a son from the tribe of Kelb. Sufficient for me is my bait among Ulaym, it is sufficient for me. I am a man of strength and muscles, I am not a weakling in the face of disaster, and I promise you, Wahab, that I will go forward stabbing and striking among them, just as a servant who believes in his Lord. And so, his wife, Wahab, when she heard him reciting this poem, she famously, and this is a very famous scene from Karbala, she seized a tent pole and she went out towards her husband, saying to him, I give up my mother and my father for you, and to fight to protect the good, the offspring of Muhammad. So when she did this, she came out to Abdullah ibn Umayr. He began to send her back towards the women. But she held onto his clothes and she said, I will never leave you unless I die with you. So Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayhi called out to her, may you as a good family be well rewarded. May Allah have mercy on you. Go back to the women and sit with them. It is not for women to fight. And then she went back to them. And so this is Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayhi is bringing up a very famous fiqhi ruling here that it is not wajib on women to do jihad. And we have hadiths from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to the effect that the jihad of a woman is her hajj and her giving birth to a child. So Imam al-Husayn is reminding her, says, your husband is doing more than enough. You don't need to do this. You need to go back and sit with the other ladies. And so this story is transmitted by al-Tabari in volume 19, page 130 to 131. And as well as al-Balagri in Ansab al-Ashraf, volume 3, page 398. So regarding the martyrdom of Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi, radwanullah ta'ala alayh, later during the battle, Ash-Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, la'inahullah, he attacked the people of al-Husayn's left wing. But the latter stood firm and forced Ash-Shimr and his followers away from with their spears. So al-Husayn and his followers were attacked on every side. So Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi, during this assault, he was killed. So he had managed to kill another 2 men after the first 2. and he had fought fiercely. But Hani ibn Thubayt al-Hadrami and Bukayr ibn Hayr al-Taymi of Taymullah ibn Tha'laba attacked him and killed him. And this is reported in Tarikh al-Tabari, volume 19, page 138 to 139. So we see that Abdullah ibn Umayr at the beginning of the battle, it was a 2v1 and he still managed to win. And then later in the battle, he had managed to kill two people once again. And so when he was martyred, his wife, who had, as we could see, was with him the entire time and how loyal she was to him and how much she cared for him, when she saw that he had been killed, she went over to his body and she sat by his head, rubbing it with the earth, saying, "May you enjoy heaven." So Ash-Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, la'inahullah, when he saw her doing this, he had a servant by the name of Rustum. So he ordered him beat her head in with a tent pole. And so Rustum obeyed his master's order. He took a tent pole and he struck her upon her head and he smashed her skull in. And so she died where she was, and thus both her and her husband, alayhim, were martyred in the service of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. So the story of her martyrdom is narrated in Tarikh al-Tabari, volume 19, page 141, and al-Baladri's Ansab al-Ashraf, volume 3, page 401. And so this is probably the famous couple of Karbala. And again, I don't know if this was a mix-up, if this is one of those stories that got confused or muddled, or people added something to it over time where they made him into a Christian and he was there with both his wife and his mother. I don't think that is the case, but I have not been able to find any trace of that famous the Christian who joined al-Husayn story. But that being said, the story of Abdullah ibn Umayr is nonetheless a very powerful one. It's a very beautiful one. We have a man who is seeking jihad fi sabilillah, and so Allah gave him that opportunity. He gave him what he was looking for. And so Allah also blessed him with a wonderful spouse. He blessed him with a wife who stood firmly with him the entire time, such that when he passed away, she couldn't bear to be without him. Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi radwanullah ta'ala alayhi is no doubt a very, very great man. And so was his wife. May Allah be pleased with them both.